The Archivist's Loop. One morning, when Elliot arrived at his office, a folder lay on his desk. Yellowed, like paper from an archive, it smelled of mildew and damp wood, as if it had been stored in an abandoned basement for the last 20 years. It had no markings, no crests, seals, or barcodes. Only a thin, faded sticker with a single line typed in a mechanical font. Archivist. Subject 1 on 17. Inside were documents, photocopies of reports, fragments of personal files, 3 Polaroid snapshots. One was a blank black rectangle. But if you tilted it at a certain angle, something began to appear in the depths of the emulsion, like the shadow of a figure standing behind glass, behind which there shouldn't have been light for a long time. The last page of the folder was handwritten. Uneven, trembling handwriting seemed to scratch the words through fear. Be careful. They say he went to ground, but something remained above. If you're reading this, don't go alone. No signature. At the bottom, only a cross. Not a signature. Not a symbol. Just a black intersection of ink, like a knife mark. Elliot Graves, a researcher of post-industrial architecture and the behavior of ghost towns, didn't immediately understand why he had opened the folder. He should have thrown it away, burned it, ignored it. But 2 days later, an official assignment arrived. A business trip to a district designated as X7, southwest of the state, an area where, according to the old department, an archive employee had disappeared. When he asked, "Why not the police?" he received a strange answer. He's not listed among the living, but not among the dead either. He was given car keys, an old voice recorder, and an address, the very same one that was on the title page of the folder, an address that no longer existed on any map. He was driving to nowhere. The GPS froze, plotted a route, and then erased it on its own. He switched to the coordinates written by hand. The narrow road with cracked asphalt disappeared into a milky fog. To the left was a forest, dense and silent. To the right, a field without a horizon, as if drowned in gray cotton wool. The further he drove, the stronger the feeling that he wasn't driving, but penetrating, as if the place he was heading to was absorbing him, like water drawing in a foot that has taken its first step. Near a dilapidated gas station, a dog was howling. Not threateningly, not angrily, plaintively. It didn't run away. It looked directly at the car. And it seemed to Elliot that there was not a warning in its gaze, but a plea. He saw the house suddenly, No signs, no road markers, no gate. Just a building that had grown out of the fog. As if it had always stood there, but had only become visible the moment he was close enough. The facade was brick, with peeling plaster. The windows were empty, but not broken. Above one window, a torn curtain, swaying although there was no wind. He approached. An old bench stood at the entrance. On it, a mug. Ceramic, with a fine crack. Inside, the tea was still warm. It smelled of grass and rust. He knocked. There was no answer. He inserted the key into the lock. There was no click. The door simply opened, as if it had been waiting. Inside, it smelled of mildew, old books, and something metallic. The air was warm, but not from heating. It resembled the breath of the earth, where warmth doesn't comfort, but suffocates. The furniture was in place, but everything looked too staged, like a scene prepared for a play in which no one performs. Only the desk had been wiped, with a finger, hastily, as if someone writing had been afraid of being caught. A cassette lay on the desk, unlabeled. Only a sticker. Do not rewind. Next to it, a voice recorder. He didn't remember taking it out of his bag. Elliot noticed a diary, open in the middle. The handwriting was small, erratic. If you're reading this, you're already inside. The rest of the pages had been torn out, violently, as if tearing memory out with flesh. On the second floor, he found a bedroom. In the dust on the floor, someone had left a mark. 5 furrows from the window to the door. Not scratches. Fingers. A photograph hung on the wall. Of the same old house. In the foreground, a man in a black coat. His back to the camera. In the second floor window, a shadow. Elliot peered closer. In the reflection of the glass, his face, the angle, the gaze, even his shirt. It was him. Although it was impossible, he was in this house for the first time. On the back of the photo, if it's you, don't look back. He turned around. The room was empty, but the air had stopped being air. It had become observation. He didn't sleep that night. First, he lay listening to the creaking of the floorboards, the hum of blood in his ears, and the soft, almost inaudible ticking of a clock that wasn't in the room. Then he got up, walked down the hallway, looked into the kitchen, checked the locks. Everything seemed in order. Until 3 a.m. It was at this time, as if according to someone's schedule, that the television downstairs clicked on. Not loudly, not sharply, like a lamp being turned on in a church before a service. Elliot went down. There was no static on the screen. There was a door. An ordinary wooden door, filmed as if by a security camera. No inscriptions, timestamps, or logos. The camera didn't move, and no one appeared in the frame. Only the door. After about 10 minutes, a sign appeared on the door, as if it had always been there. The word "exit" was written crookedly, as if by a hand trembling with cold. Elliot approached but didn't touch it. He pulled the plug from the socket. The screen remained on. Only after a couple of minutes, without any click, did the light on it slowly fade. He went outside. The cold hit unexpectedly, even though it was September. The air was thick, as if no one had breathed it in a long time. What was stranger was that the road he had arrived on had disappeared. The asphalt led in a direction he didn't remember. The car's headlights were off, although he hadn't turned them off. Returning to the house, he noticed that he had passed through the door twice. The first time, into the hallway. The second time, into the same room. Absolutely identical. Only in this room, his voice recorder lay on the table. He pressed play. The recording began with breathing. His own, intermittent, familiar. Then, a voice. His. Clear. Calm. "My name is Elliot Graves, researcher. I came here, not for a report. It seems I came to myself." A pause. Then the voice spoke again, but in a lower tone, and there was something mechanical in it. "You think this is the first time?" Elliot abruptly stopped the playback. For a moment, a reflection flickered in the window, but it didn't mirror his movements. He stood still, and the reflection turned its head. Slowly. Too slowly. The clock on the wall, which had been still all day, began to tick. Only the hands moved backward. He moved closer and heard, barely discernible as if under the wallpaper, something scratching the wall from the inside. Elliot fell asleep without remembering how. The last thing he did was write something in a notebook by the fireplace. He hadn't lit a fire, but it was burning. Calmly, without crackling, with an even light, as if not a fireplace but a projector was working in the room. Elliot didn't wake up in the bedroom. He was standing in the forest, at night, without a jacket, without his bag. Fog enveloped the trees, and the ground under his feet was wet and warm, as if breathing. Ahead, in a strip of dim light, stood a girl. Short, in a white dress, barefoot, with hair stuck to her cheeks. She didn't speak. She just looked. Elliot took a step, but the girl raised her hand and pointed behind him with her finger. He turned around. Behind him stood a man, exactly like him. The same clothes, the same posture, but the expression on his face was not his. This copy was smiling, widely, unnaturally, as if his face was stretched like a mask and about to crack. The girl spoke. Her voice was not childlike. It was empty. "This is you, when you forget who you are." The world around them began to crack. Not literally, but like ice cracking underfoot. Slowly, with a soft sound of destruction. The fog swirled like water, drawing him inward. He woke up in the same armchair. The fireplace had gone out, but the air was warm. A cup of tea stood on the table. Steam rose lazily. Elliot hadn't drunk tea since childhood. He went out into the hallway and froze. On the wall, which had previously only held a peeling mirror, now hung a painting. The house, taken from the outside. A man stood in front of it, his back, in a black coat. And again, in the second-floor window, a reflection. The same silhouette, too tall, too dark. He approached and realized it wasn't a painting. It was a mirror, and in it, he was himself. But the reflection didn't move. He moved, turned his head, blinked. His reflection didn't. It just looked. He took a step back. The silence of the house changed. It became thick, like a liquid in which he now moved. And a thought sounded in his head. It didn't belong to him, but the voice was his. "You are not a guest here. You are here again." The next morning, he found the voice recorder. It lay in a drawer, neatly wrapped with a rubber band, as if someone wanted it to remain intact. Underneath it, a piece of paper with a single phrase: "Don't listen completely." The signature was his, the handwriting, too. But Elliot knew for sure he hadn't written it. He pressed the play button. First, silence. Then, breathing. His. Intermittent. Uneven. Then a voice. Confident. Tired. "My name is Elliot Graves, researcher. I thought I came here for a report, but it seems I came to myself." A pause, too long to be accidental. "If you're listening to this, then you are me. Or what's left of me. We are not alone. Never have been. Everything here remembers. Even you. Especially you." The next fragment began with a rustling sound, as if someone was breathing close to the microphone. Then a second voice appeared. The same timbre, the same intonation, but there was no person in it, only his form. How many times have you listened to this already? Elliot dropped the voice recorder. The device fell, but continued playing, as if it wanted the recording to reach the end. On the screen, unexpectedly, a video started. An old camera. The image shakes, as if filmed handheld. The room, this same one, but in different lighting. Elliot sits at the table and writes, in blood, on the wall. He doesn't scream. He doesn't even speak. He just writes. He didn't leave. He's overwriting. In the next shot, he laughs, soundlessly, widely. His lips move, but his face isn't alive. It just repeats the form of life, and the camera zooms in. Elliot's eyes get closer and closer until they fill the entire screen. And then he, from the screen, says, "You were never real, only an echo, only a trace. We are all what comes after." The screen goes black. Something screams outside the window. For a second, it seems like a bird. But there are too many words in that sound. Too much recognition. In the morning, he went to the kitchen. Everything was too clean. The dishes he had left the day before had disappeared. The table was wiped. The faucet wasn't dripping. The air, cool, without the smell of dampness, as if someone had rewound and rewritten the night. He noticed a door in the corner, narrow, low, as if not meant for human height. Elliot was sure it hadn't been there. Yesterday, for sure. And before that, too. The lock on it looked old, but yielded immediately, as if it had never been locked. Behind the door was a staircase leading down. Narrow, wooden. The steps creaked under his weight, but didn't sag. The air changed. It became humid, sticky, like in underground cellars, where darkness is not the absence of light, but its enemy. He descended for a long time, much longer than the size of the house would allow. 30, 40, 60 steps. Not a single branch. No hint of walls. Only emptiness enveloping him from all sides. At the bottom was a room, or what had once been one. The ceiling wasn't visible. The walls weren't brick. More like clay, flesh, and something that moved when he wasn't looking. In the center, a table. On it, a photograph. His childhood. A moment that no one could have captured. Him in the garden, with his eyes closed, holding a compass. He knew for sure no one had photographed that. Under the picture, someone had scratched, "I remember you. Do you remember me?" Elliot recoiled, and at that moment, from the depths of the room, footsteps sounded, measured, bare, quiet, as if someone with no heels, only flat, heavy soles, was walking on the ground. A man emerged from the darkness. Elliot recognized the face instantly. Himself. Only the features were empty. The face, like a shell. The eyes, glassy. The smile, stretched. "I stayed so you could leave," the other one said. "But you came back." Elliot didn't answer. The shadow continued. "You thought you were the first." The walls began to sway. Cracks spread across them, and from them, doors twisted open. Behind each, a person, all Elliots. One with graying temples, another young with frightened eyes, one with a gun, one in bandages, one dead but moving. They watched. They didn't speak. Only one of them moved his lips. "You are not investigating this. You are this." And then Elliot understood. He hadn't come to this house. The house had come to him. And now, he didn't want to leave. The recording was found months later. No one was looking for Elliot anymore. His documents were closed. The case, archived. The house had once again disappeared from the maps. But someone had left the voice recorder right in the reception of the university where he worked, without an envelope, without a name. Just the device, and that was it. On the recording, a voice. Clear, precise. Elliot's voice. But he wasn't speaking into the microphone. He was speaking inward. If you're listening to this, it means someone has opened the folder again. I don't know who you are, but I know what will happen next. A pause. The sound of breathing can be heard for a couple of seconds. It's even. Too even. I thought I was compiling a report, that I was unraveling a chain of events. But I didn't understand that I myself was part of the mechanism. The house isn't a trap. The house is a script. It doesn't compress. It rewrites. The recording trembles, as if the voice recorder is being held not by fingers, but by something soft, alien. First, it shows you yourself. Then, what you could have been. And then, it decides who you really were. The background noise intensifies. A whisper emerges. Indistinct, but it repeats. Again and again. As if many voices are repeating the same phrase in different languages. From them, only one word is discernible. Remained. If you think you can get out, it's too late. If you think you're not me, you're wrong. If you're still listening, then perhaps you are ready. The voice recorder falls silent, but a second before the end of the file, another voice is heard. Different, deeper, dry, as if made of dust and coal. You are here. Welcome back.